So I was reading online, someone wanted to know, hey, I'm very flexible. I started Jiu-Jitsu. I want to know how I can put my flexibility to the best use. Whose material should I look up? I've got the answer for you. Guys, my name is Bill Jones, the head instructor of top-level martial arts in downtown Cuyahoga Falls. A black belt under Master Pedro Sauer and Tony Rinaldi. You're watching Professor's Corner. So, this is a really common thing I see. We find people who are very athletic in some form or fashion. Now, that could mean a lot of things. That could mean that they're fast. It could mean that they're strong. It could even just mean that they're very aggressive. It could mean that they're flexible. The simple answer, if you just want to hear it and go, is don't look up anybody. Okay? Now, this person made it clear that they had only been training for a couple months, and I think that's an important differentiation. If you've been training for 5, 6, 7, 10 years and you have solid fundamental mechanics, absolutely it's okay, and you probably naturally have put some of your own athletics or attributes in with your mechanics, because you're not depending on those athletics, you're using them to enhance the mechanic. So my best advice to that person was, hey, don't do it. Don't look up anybody just for the specific purpose of adding flexibility. You know, everybody's like on the theme was like, oh, look up Eddie Bravo, look up Meow Brothers, look up these guys. Guys, Eddie Bravo, the Meow Brothers, these people have phenomenal mechanics, okay? They weren't doing that day one as a white belt. And moreover, if you know, Eddie, for as good as he is, he's freaking fantastic, don't get me wrong, but he's had a lot of surgeries lately. He's had a lot of work done, and you can probably relate some of it to pushing from angles that your body is not meant to push from. You know, like going into like a, you know, like a yoga, you know, leg or lotus position, like pushing from there with the side of your leg is not healthy for your body. It's not meant to be used that way. It's not designed to be used that way. He was able to do it in spite of that mechanical deficit and has had to pay the price, and I would be willing to bet has some better mechanics since then, because he's had to develop them due to injuries and whatnot. Yeah, so, you know, there's a difference between adding the flexibility, in this case, to your technique, and I think that's something that gets overlooked, which is part of why I wanted to do this video, because it is nothing for someone to look at someone who's strong and say someone's mounted on them and the person just sits up and boom, just explodes them off. It's nothing for an instructor to say, hey, whoa. You know, you're getting away with that because that person wasn't good enough to exploit it, but you shouldn't use strength in that way. It's not a good way to escape the mount. It's not an efficient way, and it's not mechanically sound. And they're right. They're right to tell that person that. How many times have you heard people say, don't use your strength in jiu-jitsu? Like, try not to use it. The only person that I've heard say it in what I consider to be a way that is proper was Saulo Ribeiro, who said, you're going to use strength, but that should be used at a position of mechanical advantage. You know, that's when you can't say don't use strength at all. Some strength is required to move your body. That is how your body moves. You know, muscles have tendons at the end. Those tendons connect into bones, and then as the muscle contracts, it pulls the bone, right? That's how your body moves. So you have to use some strength. It's always going to be required. But the point is, you want to use a maximal effort of strength only when you are at a position of extreme mechanical advantage. And that we call that leverage. You know, that's when you want to use that strength. And it's very helpful in those situations. But if someone's just mounted on top of you and you're just going to bench press them off, what you're doing actually, you know, is mechanically okay. It's not going to harm you to do this. It's just that you're extending your arms and you're going to get your arms busted, right? That's the biggest situation there. But the problem I usually see is with flexible people. And when we say the same thing about fast people, like, whoa, slow down, dude, slow down. You know, you don't need to move so fast. You're just going to move fast into a bad thing. But flexible people get away with it. And I've seen it time and time again where flexible people are just using flexibility to be able to do something. And I've had to tell them, look, I think you're depending on that a little too much. You know, I had to tell someone I've trained for years, that just not too long ago. And again, just like any attribute, flexibility is a good thing to have. It's healthy for your body. It's one of the 5 components of physical fitness, along with muscular strength and muscular endurance, cardiovascular endurance, and body fat composition. So these things are important and good for you, but you want to make sure that you're using said flexibility in a way that makes sense. Okay. A good example of that. A bad example would be like, I would say rubber guard for the most part is pulling your leg in a way that's not really meant to be moved that way. The hip will flex toward you pretty good so that you're okay there, but it's that angle of the knee that's not necessarily good for you. Your body's not really supposed to do that to that extent. And then moreover with that is, once you've gotten there, pushing away with your body in that angle. It's definitely not designed to do that. And keep in mind, like, can it do that? Sometimes, all right? But depending on that as a mechanic is probably not the smartest thing. And you can do something very similar where you bring your leg up and then just take an angle, and now you're properly aligned. This is why when people teach triangle choke, they say to take an angle, because it's taking you from squeezing in a weird way with your legs to driving with the hamstrings of your legs, the big muscle on the back of your leg. So flexibility is a good thing. A good way to be using flexibility would say, let's say you're in bottom side control and your hip escaping. If you can bring that knee up to your pec and get that between you and your opponent, man, that's going to be tough for the opponent to pass your guard then. So that's a good way to use it. So, I mean, that's where I come in on things like attributes, Strength should be used at a position of mechanical advantage. Speed should be used. When can you use speed? You can use speed pretty much any time that you're doing the mechanic properly. You're just making... The problem is when people don't know a good mechanic, so they use speed to try to do it. Like, they'll just grab your legs and run around. And, what's going to happen? They're going to get darsed. They're going to get armbarred. They're going to get swept, right? They're just off balance at the end of it usually. However, if you get someone who's able to do a mechanic properly and cycle through these various mechanics at a high rate of speed and maintain balance, maintain coordination through it, then they just happen to be good. They're just able to add that to it. They're not depending on it to do it right. They're off balancing properly and then, shooting through there properly, waiting for the timing. It just happens to be faster than you move. Well, that's sport. That's athleticism, right? And it's okay in that situation. And muscular endurance doesn't, that's just being able to outlast your opponent more than anything. Do a movement over and over and over again, until you get tired. If you can do that more than the other person, it's hard for people to use that to their advantage beyond just, rolling for long periods of time. Same thing with like cardiovascular endurance. So just focus on getting mechanically sound before you attempt to add any attribute. And take it from a guy. I've said it before. I'm about 250 pounds right now. I have never been small. Even when I'm small, I'm 215, 220. So, like, even then, I get away with things I don't want to, or I did in the past. And what I mean is, like, when I go to do, let's say, a basic like elbow escape from the bottom of a mountain, when I move my arm, because I'm larger than most people and usually stronger than a lot of people, their leg just moves. And so it was a long time before I recognized that I wasn't doing the mechanic quite correctly. I was just getting away with it. And what actually has exploited that is age and slowing down and getting a little bit weaker because I'm getting a little bit older. And I'm not lifting as much as I used to. And when you start losing those attributes, you start recognizing you have a deficit in technique. And that's something you have to get good at. That's something even my instructor, who was widely considered one of the most technical human beings on earth, and that's Pedro Sauer. he often will show a move differently than what I've seen him do it before, and he'll say, yeah, as I've gotten older, I realized I got to do it this way. And he was never a big man, but there was a time when he was young and had some speed and had some aggression, the ability to maybe make up for a thing here or there, even though it was never as much as some people do. Like, he's done it, and so he's come up with better mechanics and things to, ways to do the technique. So as long as you're trying to use proper mechanics and using your flexibility and your speed and your strength and all of that in the right way, in cooperation with mechanics rather than in lieu of good mechanics, then you're doing fine. I hope this is helpful to you guys. If you like it, let me know. Oh, hey, thank you very much. We finally went over 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. I'm going to figure out something that we can do for like a live video now that we can do those. Maybe once a week or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Where I can just set up a camera somewhere and go live. Anyway, guys, talk to you later. Have a great one. Thanks for watching.